Hello there, very good evening and welcome to the news at 6 where we get you the day's top developing stories. I'm Tracy Shilshi and here are the headlines. 8 Simi under trials are killed in an encounter after escaping from the Bhopal Central Jail. Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister briefs Home Minister Rajnath Singh about the incident, requests NIA to probe the incident. Tension remains in the valley as another school is burned down in Srinagar, while Pakistani troops violate ceasefire in Poonch and Rajouri districts, target BSF posts and civilian areas with small arms and mortars. Prime Minister Narendra Modi pitches for the All India Judicial Services, calling government the biggest litigant, advising it to lessen burden on the judiciary by resolving disputes at administrative levels. And the nation celebrates Rashtriya Ekta Divas to mark the birth anniversary of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. A march is also held by the Congress to pay tribute to former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi on her 32nd death anniversary. Top story this evening, Prime Minister Narendra Modi today spoke on the need to lessen the burden on the judiciary. Speaking at the Golden Jubilee celebrations of the Delhi High Court, Modi said that the courts are facing many challenges. He also urged the government institutions to reduce that burden on the judiciary. His statement, of course, comes just days after the Supreme Court pulled up the government for what it calls its lackadaisical approach in the appointments of judges across different courts.
Addressing the 50th anniversary of the Delhi High Court on Monday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi called for a joint effort to tackle the challenges faced by the judiciary. He also pitched for an All India Judicial Service on the lines of the Indian Administrative Service.
एक चर्चा का विषय रहा ऑल इंडिया जुडिशियल सर्विस का, विवादों में रहा है, लेकिन लोकतंत्र का ये मूलभूत पिंड है वाद और विवाद और संवाद। चर्चा होनी चाहिए, बहस होनी चाहिए।
Chief Justice of India T.S. Thakur once again raised the issue of shortage of judges, saying constraints cannot stand in the way of justice.
Judiciary will come under tremendous pressure in the times to come, given the fact that there are difficulties in keeping pace with the avalanche of cases that keeps coming on courts whose number remains limited.
Also present at the event was Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal. Kejriwal's allegation that judges' phones are being tapped were emphatically denied by Law Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad.
अगर जजेस के फोन टैप होंगे फिर तो एवरी जज कुड बी इन्फ्लुएंस्ड। ऐसा नहीं कि जजेस कुछ गलत कर रहे होंगे, लेकिन कहीं कुछ दोस्तों के बीच की बातचीत को करके, और ये तो बहुत खतरनाक है। अगर मान लीजिए किसी जज ने कुछ गलत काम किया, तब भी phone tapping should not be allowed.
To deny with all the authority at my command that the phones of judges have been tapped in India at all, I want to make it very clear and categorical.
The event to mark 50 years of the Delhi High Court was held in the backdrop of highly critical comments by the top court against the delay in appointing judges by the government. With Panchanan Mishra, Bureau Inputs, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now to the big story that's of course a big story on social media as well. 8 activists of the Banned Students Islamic Movement of India or SIMI were killed in an encounter today after they escaped from a Bhopal prison early this morning. The fleeing under trials also killed a head constable. While details of the operation are still unclear, opposition parties are raising questions about the incident.
8 SIMI activists who allegedly escaped from the Bhopal Central Jail on Monday morning were killed in an encounter just hours later by the city police. The police disclosed that the under trials killed a head constable using sharpened steel plates and spoons. A security guard also suffered serious injuries.
एक इनपुट मिला था इसमें, उस इनपुट पर वर्क करने के लिए जो जिला पुलिस भोपाल की टीम थी और सीटीजी और एसटीएफ वाली भी टीम्स थी, इन तीनों ने मिलकर जो है इन 8 आरोपियों को जो है वो लोकेट कर लिया था। आरोपियों द्वारा जो है इसमें भागने के प्रयास करने के चक्कर में उनके द्वारा फायर किया गया। पुलिस द्वारा आत्मरक्षा जो फायर किया गया उसमें ये 8 आरोपी जो है वो यहाँ पर मड़ीखेड़ा पठार एरिया है अचारपुरा के पास में, वहाँ पर ये सारे जो है इन लोग की डेथ हो गई।
Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan congratulated the forces on successfully tracking down the escaped men. He also briefed Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh about the incident and requested that the investigation into the jailbreak be handed over to the National Investigation Agency.
घटना को गंभीरता से लेते हुए हमने इसका जांच कराने का फैसला किया है। पूर्व डीजीपी नंदन दुबे जांच करेंगे इस घटना की और इसमें जो भी तथ्य आएंगे उन तथ्यों के आधार पर और भी कठोरतम कार्रवाई की जाएगी।
While BJP leaders praised the action of the state police, opposition parties questioned lapses that led to the jailbreak.
योजनाबद्ध तरीके से दिवाली का फायदा लेकर वो निकले थे, लेकिन मध्य प्रदेश की पुलिस ने बहुत हिम्मत का काम किया और उन सबको मार गिराया है।
8 आतंकवादी भागे, वहाँ पे पूरा जेल प्रशासन क्या कर रहा था? हाँ, उसका मतलब ताले 8 जगह उनको अलग अलग बैरक में उनको बंद किए थे, उनको कैसे निकल भागे उस समय उनको क्यों नहीं? तो ये सरकार की असफलता है, ये नाकामी है।
The entire government version is highly dubious and suspicious and full of self-contradictory statements. And therefore, to get to the truth, it is essential to have an independent probe under a High Court judge.
How such a breach could take place in the high security prison in Bhopal? It raises questions about jail administration in Madhya Pradesh.
In 3 years, this was the second major jailbreak incident by Simi activists in Madhya Pradesh. 7 members made a sensational escape from a jail in Khandwa in 2013. The Union Ministry has sought a detailed report from the state government and directed officials to step up security to check such incidents in future. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now to Kashmir, where 2 schools, including a Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalaya, were damaged in a mysterious fire incident in South Kashmir's Anantnag district in Srinagar. Condemning the incident, Union Minister Venkaiah Naidu said that setting schools on fire in Kashmir is a combination of what he called madness and perversion.
Another government school was set on fire by unidentified people in Jammu and Kashmir's Anantnag district. It was the 3rd school to be burnt in the state after a Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalaya school in Ashmukam was set on fire on Saturday night. Authorities say the cause of fire in both incidents is not clear. Over 22 schools have been reportedly burnt down in the last 2 months in the ongoing unrest in the valley.
This is very unfortunate and the responsibility that's on those people, those separatists, including Mr. Gilani and other people who are giving this calendar, and they are encouraging such elements to burn the schools, and I would say that they are behind these people, they are behind that. Ultimately, the future of the children of Kashmir, it's in dark.
यहाँ की पॉलिटिक्स से दूर रखा जाए, क्योंकि बच्चे यहाँ का भविष्य हैं, उनकी शिक्षा यहाँ का भविष्य है। तो कोशिशें इस चीज़ की हमने करने की कोशिश की थी कि कम से कम उस पर असर ना हो, लेकिन ऐसा लोगों ने होने नहीं दिया।
Expressing concern over the school burning incidents, Union Minister Venkaiah Naidu said such incidents were not only anti-national but sheer madness.
A combination of madness and also perversion. Otherwise, how can anybody think of setting fire to education institutions which are imparting education and knowledge to our own children? People of the valley and Jammu Kashmir should realize that these people have crossed all the limits.
Schools have been closed in Kashmir Valley due to a shutdown called by separatist groups. The efforts to reopen school have failed as both government and separatist groups are accusing each other of playing politics over education. Meanwhile, normal life remained affected due to the ongoing unrest that entered the 115th day in the valley. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And Pakistani troops on Monday violated ceasefire again by indulging in firing and shelling along the line of control in the twin frontier districts of Poonch and Rajouri in Jammu and Kashmir. An army soldier was killed and 2 women were injured in the incidents.
In a latest ceasefire violation by the Pakistani troops, an Indian army soldier and a woman were killed in Rajouri and Mendhar sectors of Jammu and Kashmir. The Jawan died in Rajouri sector where Pakistani troops targeted Manjkot and Gambhir areas. On Monday, Pakistan violated ceasefire thrice. The first ceasefire violation was in Poonch district, while the other 2 were in Rajouri district. 2 more Jawans were also injured in the ceasefire violations in Mendhar.
हम मिलिट्री रिस्पांस दे रहे हैं, हम उनको मिलिट्रीली हिट कर रहे हैं और वहाँ हिट कर रहे हैं जहाँ पे कि उनको मैक्सिमम नुकसान हो और उनको पता चले कि सीज़फायर वायलेशन का क्या मतलब है।
पाकिस्तान की फ्रस्ट्रेशन है, पाकिस्तान के जो उसको जो है उसका फेस करना पड़ रहा है, जिस प्रकार का उसका नुकसान हुआ है, पूरी दुनिया में उसको आइसोलेट कर दिया गया है, वो टोटली एक्सपोज हुआ है उड़ी के बाद, तो पक्के तौर पर उसकी फ्रस्ट्रेशन को निकालने वो कर रहे हैं। लेकिन बड़ी बात यह है कि उनको पूरा जो है जोर से उसका जवाब दिया जा रहा है।
Unprovoked firing from the Pakistani side began in the morning on Sunday along the international border in Jammu, Sambha and Kathua districts.
People living in the border area have a very high level of morale. When you ask them about their well-being, the immediate response is that you don't worry about us, you carry on the way it is and settle this issue once for and all. Secondly, they also observe that for many years this kind of retaliatory action had not taken place from the Indian side. A kind of a befitting reply which has put the Pakistan on the back foot.
Over the last 1 month, 60 ceasefire violations have taken place since the surgical strikes by Indian Army on terror launch pads in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
With a quick break here, we'll be back with more national stories in a bit. Stay with us.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
Welcome back. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday flagged off the Run for Unity on the occasion of the 141st birth anniversary of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. The marathon began from Vijay Chowk to India Gate. Modi urged people to recall the vision of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel and credited him for uniting India under one flag. The Modi government had last year decided to observe Sardar Patel Jayanti Divas as Ekta Divas. Besides Prime Minister Modi, Home Minister Rajnath Singh, Urban Development Minister Venkaiah Naidu and Lieutenant Governor Najib Jung were present at the event. The Prime Minister also released a commemorative stamp at the program and administered the Ekta Pledge.
आज जो हिंदुस्तान में हम एक तिरंगे झंडे के नीचे कश्मीर से कन्याकुमारी, अटक से कटक, हिमालय से लेकर के सागर तक जो एक हिंदुस्तान देख रहे हैं, एक तिरंगे झंडे के नीचे हिंदुस्तान देख रहे हैं, उसका श्रेय सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल को जाता है.
In other news, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana jointly topped the Ease of Doing Business Reforms ranking in 2016. Commerce and Industry Minister Nirmala Sitharaman released the report on state-wise Ease of Doing Business rankings on Monday. The assessment has been conducted by the Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion and the World Bank. Here are the details.
Andhra Pradesh and Telangana have pipped Gujarat in the ease of doing business parameters for 2016. The two Telugu-speaking states have been in competition to attract investments after their bifurcation. Against the national average of 48.93%, they scored 98.78% in implementing business reforms.
States have really put in competing with one another to make sure that their state is not going to be a loser, but on the contrary, will be a performer so that it becomes a haven for investors.
Gujarat slipped to third position after holding first rank last year. Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh and Haryana follow in subsequent positions. States that attained 70% to 90% like Karnataka, Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal and Bihar were termed as aspiring leaders. States in the Jumpstart Needed category with an implementation percentage of 0 to 40 include states like Kerala, Goa, Jammu and Kashmir, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Lakshadweep and northeastern states.
India has come a long way from a world where industrial policy was Raj license to now industrial policies about enabling business.
Last week, the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business Index revealed that India managed to move up by one rank in 2016. India stood at 130th position out of 190 countries globally. Government hopes a fierce competition among states on the Ease of Doing Business rankings will improve overall rankings for the country next year. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And staying with rankings, Maharashtra has been judged the most farmer-friendly state in the country. In a first-of-its-kind exercise, the Niti Aayog today prepared a farmer-friendly reforms index based on initiatives taken by the states in implementing farm sector reforms. Here are more details.
Maharashtra is the top state in implementing agrarian reforms and offers the best environment for doing agribusiness. The latest rankings show the state is followed by Gujarat and Rajasthan. Madhya Pradesh is ranked 4th, followed by Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Telangana, Goa and Chhattisgarh.
Agriculture is a state subject and therefore initiatives are largely to come from the states. But it is now time. There was one effort made in 2003 through the model APMC Act reform.
Almost 20 of the 29 states, including West Bengal, Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, Assam, Jharkhand, Tamil Nadu and Jammu and Kashmir fared poorly on the index.
If we want to have high growth rate in agriculture, if we want to address agrarian distress, if we want to double income of the farmer in 6-7 years, it is not possible if these reforms are not undertaken.
The index is aimed at helping states identify and address problems in the farm sector that suffer from low growth, low farm income and agrarian distress. The Niti Aayog identified areas for action with a view to double farm income and implement reforms in agriculture markets, land lease and forestry on private land. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
India and China today held a second round of discussion to decide upon the criteria for the non-NPT countries to enter into the coveted club of 48 nuclear powers. The meeting took place in Beijing, led by Joint Secretary in Disarmament and International Security Affairs Division Amandeep Singh Gill. Described as substantive, the deliberations will continue further after a review in both the countries. This is the second in the series of meetings between the two countries on the issue of India's membership to the Nuclear Suppliers Group. The first meeting was held on the 13th of September this year in New Delhi after the two countries decided to engage to dispel misunderstandings and the communication gap. Next week, the NSAs of the two countries will meet in India on the issue of terrorism, specifically to proscribe Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Masood Azhar. With that, let's take you through some more national news updates in Nationwide. Congress workers on Monday observed the 32nd death anniversary of former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. A procession was held from Congress headquarters to Indira Gandhi's former residence. President Pranab Mukherjee, Vice President Hamid Ansari and Congress President Sonia Gandhi, including former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, paid homage to the late Prime Minister. Delhi's air quality plunged to the severe category after smoke from firecrackers during Diwali festivities blanketed the national capital. This since a hazardous mix of noxious gases and respirable pollutants hang very close to the surface due to low temperature and near stagnant wind movement. Delhi Pollution Control Committee's real-time readings were also indicative of the increasing levels of pollution, with a rise in the numbers of crackers going off. Himachal Pradesh Chief Minister Veerbhadra Singh was hospitalized in the wee hours of Monday morning after he complained of fever and severe cough congestion. His condition is said to be stable, and now the Chief Minister has been kept under observation. The 86-year-old Chief Minister, who had been unwell for the past few days, has been kept under observation. A quick break. International news next.
Ghatam, one of the oldest and most unique percussion instruments of southern India. You can play it not only with your fingers, but palms, wrists and heels as well. You'd be surprised, but the air inside the Ghatam reverberates, creating the musical notes. 5 elements of nature: earth, water, air, fire and space make up the composition of this beautiful musical piece, which has found an apt place in most of the ancient books.
Welcome back. International news. And in the US, the FBI has secured a warrant to examine newly discovered emails related to Hillary Clinton's private server. The warrant will allow the FBI to examine whether these emails are relevant to its probe of the private email server used for government work by Clinton when she was Secretary of State from 2009 to 2013. Meanwhile, Democrats have accused the FBI of violating the law by revealing that the emails linked to Clinton are being investigated.
A new investigation into emails of Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton has sent the US presidential race on an uncertain path. FBI Director James Comey set off a political firestorm on Friday by announcing that the agency will investigate a new batch of emails discovered in the probe of Clinton's top aide Huma Abedin. The agency obtained a warrant on Sunday to start reviewing the emails related to Clinton's private server to see if they contain classified information. US Secretary of State Kerry, however, said the FBI has not contacted him over the new review.
Regarding the FBI and the emails, etc., the answer just very quickly is no, I haven't been notified of anything. No, I haven't been requested of anything. No, I'm not aware of the department being requested, and I have no further comment to make whatsoever on a subject that is within the purview of the Department of Justice and the FBI.
With just a little more than a week to go before the elections on the 8th of November, the timing of the announcement has raised many questions. Top Democrat leader Harry Reid accused the FBI director of violating an act which bars officials from influencing an election. The new controversy, however, has reinvigorated Republican nominee Donald Trump's campaign. Trump praised the FBI's decision, saying it raised serious questions about whether Clinton can be trusted with the presidency.
She gets a subpoena, and she deletes and bleaches, and nobody even ever heard of bleaching. Did anybody ever hear of bleaching? You know why? It's such an expensive process. But it makes them go away. But I have a feeling they've just found a lot of them, don't you think?
There are reportedly 650,000 emails to be searched, making it unlikely that investigators can complete the probe before Election Day. The FBI believes the emails might be pertinent to its previous inquiry. Clinton on Saturday lashed out at the FBI director over the review, but in an address to the LGBT community on Sunday, she was back attacking her rival Donald Trump.
Donald Trump has a terrible record on LGBT rights. And this election will determine whether we continue the progress we've made or let it be ripped away. We know Trump has promised he'll appoint Supreme Court justices who will overturn marriage equality, and that he will repeal President Obama's executive actions to protect LGBT people from discrimination.
The FBI announced in July that its investigation into the Democratic presidential candidate's email practices had concluded with a recommendation of no criminal charges in the matter. The new controversy now threatens to derail Clinton's long quest of becoming the first female president of USA. Some latest opinion polls show that Trump has closed in the gap to just 1 point. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Thousands of people are expected to need help from Italy's Civil Protection Agency following the recent earthquakes. Aftershocks continue rocking Italy's Norcia, with the town historic centre badly damaged and cordoned off. A powerful 6.6 magnitude earthquake struck Italy on Sunday, 3 days after the central Italy shook due to 2 earthquakes. At least 20 people were reported injured. Many historic buildings and structures like the medieval Basilica of St. Benedict were destroyed due to the tremor. Roof repairs and assessment of the damages to the basilica is currently taking place. Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi has vowed to rebuild damaged villages regardless of any possible objections from the European Union over the eventual costs.
In questo momento le squadre USAR dei Vigili del Fuoco stanno zonizzando il centro storico di Norcia, stanno verificando quelli che sono i rischi, cioè rispetto alle strutture compromesse, quindi per studiare la prima cosa.
Ma soprattutto diamo un messaggio alle popolazioni: noi ricostruiremo tutto, le case, le chiese, gli esercizi commerciali. Stiamo parlando di territori meravigliosi, stiamo parlando di territori che fanno della bellezza e della capacità di accoglienza il punto fondamentale.
And here are more international news updates in Global Buzz. A Pakistani court on Monday granted opposition politician Imran Khan permission to hold anti-government protests in the capital this week, but warned that demonstrations should not disrupt the life of citizens. Earlier on Wednesday, Imran Khan threatened to shut down Islamabad as part of his push to unseat Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif on grounds of alleged corruption linked to the Panama Papers leak. Dozens of refugees on Sunday fled from the village of Shura, which was recently recaptured from Islamic State militants, to the nearby district of Kayara. The men, women and children waited in the streets of Kayara for officials to distribute them to nearby refugee camps. According to the UN, some 1.5 million residents remain in the city though, and worst-case forecasts see up to 1 million being uprooted. UN agencies said that the fighting has so far forced about 7,400 to flee their homes. UK Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson today held talks with US Secretary of State John Kerry in London. The talks were aimed at finding a way to break the political stalemate in Libya. Libyan Prime Minister Fayez Sarraj, along with representatives from France, Italy, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, met in London amid deepening international concern about the difficult situation in his country. And finally, all the latest from the world of sports and SportsBeat. Sania Mirza will end the season as the world's top doubles tennis player for the straight consecutive second year. Sania finished the season with 7 WTA titles, a Grand Slam, the Australian Open. Sania had made history by becoming the first Indian woman to reach the #1 rankings in doubles in April last year. She held the #1 ranking for 81 consecutive weeks. Andy Murray's charge towards world #1 ranking continued as he beat Frenchman Jo-Wilfried Tsonga 6-3, 7-6 to claim the Vienna Open title on Sunday. The 15th consecutive match win by the world #2 means that he can overtake Djokovic by winning next week's Paris Masters. Lewis Hamilton kept his title hopes alive with a comfortable victory in the Mexican Grand Prix. Hamilton is 19 points adrift leader and Mercedes teammate Nico Rosberg, who finished second in the race. Red Bull's Daniel Ricciardo finished third. With 2 races remaining in the season, Rosberg can win the title by finishing second to Hamilton in both the races. And that's it on the news at 6. Thanks for joining us.